Sometimes in Excel, when you're trying to do these manipulations of strings, you want characters that do not exist on the keyboard, or you want to carry out carriage returns that do not exist on the keyboard. Well, they do exist on the keyboard, but how do you fit them into a concatenated string? If we take our employees' information, for an example, and insert a column, it may be that I would like the full address to be on separate lines so that I can then use that elsewhere in another application. Well, I know I can concatenate these strings by saying equals concatenate, and then I could include the house, comma the street, comma the address line 2, comma thirst, comma county, comma postcode. And I've picked up an extra comma in there. So that's my address. And when I return, I see I get the whole address just listed along. Now, even if I wrap the text and then narrow up, it only wraps where the column isn't wide enough. So you can see that as I go narrower, it just wraps in a slightly different place. So I want to be able to force and control that wrapping to tell it when to start a new line. Well, within my concatenation, I could concatenate a line feed. Now, the line feed character I can generate by using CHAR, C-H-A-R, open brackets, and then any number between 1 and 255 will generate a built-in character or punctuation mark based on the ANSI numbering. Now I need to know in the top of my head 255 options. Well, I don't. I just need to know the ones that I need. And the one to get a line feed is 10. So it's char 10, comma. So I'm going to get the house, a new line, street, another new line, so char 10, comma. And in fact, between each of my address portions, I can put char 10. So as long as I use this concatenate function and separate all the char 10s and the line parts with a comma, they will form separate lines. So I've concatenated the house, a line feed, the street, a line feed, address 2, a line feed, town city, a line feed, county, a line feed, and then the postcode. Let's see what happens when we return that. And we see that the address has gone over the correct number of rows. Now, the only issue we have here is that there is no address line 2, but I'm still getting the 2 line feeds. So it starts a new line feed after street, produces address 2, which is empty, and then adds another line feed. I would need to add in some ifs to check each of the fields that are likely to be empty, which really in our data is only address line 2. If at that point it was empty, I wouldn't feed in the line feeds. So the best way to achieve that would be to concatenate up to the street, which is the red one, then have a line feed at that point there, close that concatenation off, and then ampersand for our manual concatenate. And at that point, I can add an if in. If address line 2 equals 0, then we don't actually want anything. If it doesn't, then at that point, let's have the H2, which is the address line 2, and a line feed. Let's close our if, and then ampersand and concatenate the rest of the fields. So we run in a concatenate to fix the first 2 together with line feeds after each one, and then a concatenate at the end that sticks all the last parts together with the line feeds between, and then sort of sticking them both together, we have an if that checks to see if address line 2 is 0, so empty, and if it is empty, we return an empty string, so we get nothing between the end of that concatenate function and the start of that one. Else, so if it's not empty, we do get the value of H2 and another line feed to make sure that we're continuing round. Let's see if that works. And there you can see we don't get the extra line because there is no address line 2. If we then drag that down for a few of our records, we can see that not a problem. And when we do finally get an address line 2 here at the farm, that address line 2 is brought in with the extra line feed so that the address looks neat and tidy. So that's using the char function, in this case, to pull in a line feed character that we would not be able to build into our concatenated strings any other way. Now, I did say that you can feed into the char function any value between 1 and 255. If you have a look at the working file char_function, you'll see that I've listed out each of the char values, so 1 down to 255, and what you will get in return. Now you get all the normal characters and numbers, but you also get some of the more obscure characters that you would not be able to find very easily on a keyboard. And then we have some even more obscure, where we've got the umlauts and commas and accents on each of the letters, like A, an upside down question mark, N's, I's, U's, and then lowercase of the same characters. So this is the list of characters you'll see returned in your result if you use the char function and the number on the left. That's all the way from 1 to 255. The line feed we saw there is 10. Now you can also do a space with a char, and that's char 32 will return you a space. So instead of concatenating a space within speech marks, you could put in char 32. So that's a list, it's in your working file for you to reference should you need to use any of these char functions. And we've seen in action in our employees file the ability to add in a line feed using char 10.